It's that time. Bam. Fucking help, I'm alive again. My heart keeps beating like a hammer. You know what I'm saying? All right, hold on. What'd I forget here today? Fucking up there. Whatever. I was up so late last night hosting that contest. God damn. I woke up in the morning, gotta thank God. I don't know, but today seems kinda odd. No barking from the dog, no smog, and Mama cooked a breakfast with no hog. Any breakfast without David Hogg is a good breakfast. All right, shout out to everybody. Today I've got some cold brew from my local coffee shop. Big stratum right there. Is today the solstice? Yeah, I should have. We'll have special magic power for our edit today because so much of the book is dealing with astrological phenomenon or astronomical phenomenon right there. Shout out to Big Stratum right there. Had a very successful rap contest last night. I'm super glad that Eraser won. I'm gonna holler at Chrono there. So let's begin with our homie Charles Baudelaire. Artist unknown. Flesh is willing, but the soul requires Sisyphean practice for its song. Time, Hippocrates remarked, is short and art is long. No illustrious tombstones ornament the lonely churchyard where I often go to hear my heart, a muffled drum, parade incognito. Many a gem, the poet mourns, abides forgotten in the dust, unnoticed there. Many a rose regretfully confides the secret of its scent to empty air. Damn, Charles. That guy was not getting pussy. I'm just putting it out there. Like, I've read a lot of Flowers of Evil. This cat was the original Elliot Rodger of the poetry scene in France in the fucking 19th century. That's my theory. Just fucking putting it out there. It's kind of wild that we're in the 21st century right now. It just seems like things should be so much more futuristic. It's about to be 2020. 9 years from now, this story will take place. Yes, hello, I'm Zach ZYZ. I do this editing stream every morning. We're on day 15 of doing it. You can see here we're at page 156 of 771. And it is a long goddamn haul to edit a big old book. So I'm glad that I have y'all here with me there. If you've never tuned in before or never seen one of these videos on YouTube before, essentially this is a science fiction story about a young woman who becomes very depressed after the death of her father, tries to kill herself, but she's thwarted in her attempt by the cruel and unusual Starball. And the story is just her trying to figure out what the fuck this meteorite thing is and being kind of a cunt along the way. That is a terrible elevator pitch, by the way. At this point in the story, she's almost drowned a couple of times. She's got in a fist fight with another girl. Now she's got into a huge fight with her mother. Just everything is so rough. And this scene is going to be a flashback scene to her time in middle school, back when she was happy. So we're going to work it out one way, shape, or the other. Ugh. So yeah, I just had a pretty solid idea. The other show, we got a fucking intro video that people love. And I had a pretty good idea for what I wanted to do for an intro video for this. I think I'm just going to do like something like about a minute long or something like that. But I actually had to hire an actress for my idea. So this wouldn't be the first time that I've parted with some unnecessary coin for writing shit that nobody cares about but me. But yeah, we're about to do it there. Real talk. All right, so let's get down to it here. Okay, so this could be another long one here. I don't know how much time and energy. I just have not been sleeping a ton this week, and whiskey is definitely the cause. Like staying out late and fucking drinking and everything. So I think tomorrow we're gonna start and I've been thinking about this one too. I'm gonna get a head start on this. Like I've done all the holiday parties that I have to do. Like I don't do anything super fancy for Christmas or something like that. So I think we're going to combine. Oh, you know what I forgot on the fucking stream? I forgot to change it from day 15 to day 16 because it is indeed day 16. Hold up. Oh, this is the shortest day of the year, and we're still out here burning that midnight oil. Good God Almighty. All right, what do we got here? So in the last chapter, we find, let's get an idea of our pacing right here. Okay, so we're here on chapter 22, and this is after she gets into the huge fight with her mother, where she basically accuses her of being a promiscuous drunk. All these things are true. And then she gets rained on riding her bike to school because her mom won't give her a ride. Nice, real nice. And then there's some confusion with so the network at the school is fucking up, and she starts to wonder if this could be the fault of the Starball. And we did some like deep diving here on just how plausible it was that an alien probe or whatever could interface with their home cable modem or the school's network and start fucking things up. And that's where I think it was Stratum's suggestion that the Starball would have to figure out like all 7 layers of the fucking OSI protocol or whatever. Do we keep that in the book? Here, I think it's in here somewhere. Figured out enough of the OSI protocol stack to communicate with their router. Gangsta. Oh shit, it's fucking Fancy Scientician up here in the chat right there. Shout outs to you. I hope you got a chance to check out that rap contest last night. With some really good entries there. Yeah, Eraser's Diss really hit, like, it was just like a fucking scatter shot hitting every single person in the channel. And I think that was a good strategy to win, one that Vapor has often employed, just because people like hearing their name mentioned and will vote for the thing that includes their name. That's fucking ridiculous. So, yeah, Jordan O, who's a frequent watcher of the stream, had a really good showing there. All of his friends in the Salt Gang called up to vote for his entry, which I have to say, the disc contest was about channeling some hate, and he did absolutely the best at channeling hate, and really, really did a solid job there. So shout outs to that character. Yeah, and the beats, I was really surprised by. We got like this one late beat submission that was just a flip on "Have yourself a wonderful," or like that, like truly having a wonderful Christmas this year, which is exactly how John Lennon sounds. It's a perfect impersonation of him. No, it really doesn't. But oh shit, Spathywah is out there driving. He's on the back of a like cow-drawn cart or something like that, headed to a temple. Hell yeah, we'll join from home soon. Oh, okay, cool. Shout out to Big Spiffywah. Let's see. It was a shame she didn't have the meteorite with her. Okay, so here she does that, and she starts wondering like if the Starball can read her thoughts. Really fucked up. So that's pretty wild. And then we end this sad little chapter. Well, yes, Spathy's out there drink driving, which is not even a crime in India. Like, in fact, if you're not drunk, they'll pull you over and just give you a beer. Say, what are you doing, pussy? And shout outs to India, where my Guhari's at. All right. About that J&K. So here, yeah, she's sitting on this bench. It's raining all around her. feeling like tremendously disassociated from everything, looking at the spot where she got her ass beat. And then she's staring through the window at a dance class that's going on, and it's being led by Radomir Stitch, who is a boy that she's known since about the 7th grade. He's originally from the Czech Republic and lived in Russia for most of his young life and is obsessed with the ballet. So she can almost feel like she could hear his thick Russian accent. So let me read a little of this. We're going to edit just the part where, let's just edit this part, the art building one there. Just to get in the swing of it, because we're going to be actually doing a rewrite on that chapter. I'd like to put it into, like I said, just past tense rather than past perfect. Let me just make sure. This is all shit that I should know, by the way. I should know all these tenses. Pluperfect. Let me see. Yeah, so pluperfect is the tense where we talk about actions that were completed before some point in the past. We were shocked to discover that somebody had graffitied. Toodles was here. We were relieved that Toodles had used washable paint. Fucking terrible example right here. But yeah, pluperfect is it's for blue pussies, is what I'm saying right there. I don't like this tense. And it's necessary, but it fucking sucks. So I definitely want to get this whole, because what we're looking at here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 paragraphs that are all in pluperfect. And stylistically, I think there should be 0. No, I think you can get away with like 1 or 2, just explaining what the fuck is going on. Well, once you get into like 2 straight pages of pluperfect, it feels really strained to me as a reader. And I like, why not just flashback to that point? So let's start working here. Down the hill, Freya could see the spot where Tammy had attacked her. She'd lain in the grass and let the rain cover her. Okay, so that doesn't track. Down the hill, Freya could see the spot where she'd lain in the grass and let the rain cover her as her eyes swelled shut. Although it didn't really swell shut. Now so let's see, does that track better? Down the hill, Freya could see the spot where she'd lain in the grass and let the rain cover her while her eyes swelled up. Yeah, let's leave out the eye part. It doesn't add anything. Now she imagined herself melting in that rain, dissolving into the earth like salt until a patch of dead grass was the only sign she'd ever existed. Yeah, I really like that line. Hell yeah, R.I.P. Gingerbread Man. Wild. Then while she's all melty, she goes over her Tammy. Like Tammy doesn't reappear in this story at any point, which is it probably should appear again in the story at some point, and we have the option to add her in somewhere, but it has to be useful because I mean, it's just, a stupid mean girl. What can we really get out of her there? She's not a good villain. Whereas Malcolm Lewis is like at least a little bit has some teeth to him right there, or is meant to in the new edit there. I will tell you, like, classically, my villains have not been strong, and it's probably the worst part of my writing. Um, which is weird, because I myself am so fucking villainous. The lights flicked on in the closest closet of the art building, giving... Mm-hmm. Her spiral of self-pity was interrupted by lights flicking on in the nearest classroom. It was a dance studio. The walls were floor-to-ceiling mirrors ringed with ballet bars. Girls in yoga pants were filing into the room. Girls in yoga pants were filing in, forming small clusters of conversation. From her perch, Freya could see everything through the, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. From her perch on the bench, Freya could see thin slashes of the class through the narrow windows. Mm. From her perch on the bench, Freya could see slashes of the class through the narrow window. What was that type of architecture? Yeah. What are these windows? Window style ideas, narrow vertical. See these guys right here? This is what I'm talking about. And this is like almost the kind of window that they would have here. Slim windows. Mm, yeah. So, Celestery window. Here, let's look at what a. Oh, yeah, that's not quite right. I mean, it's a cool sounding word, but it's not what we want. There. Where are we in fucking Goodreads here? What? What's a name for a what's the name for like a slim recessed window? They're almost like an arrow slit type window. Oh yeah. It's not quite slat. Okay. So we're not writing a screenplay here, but like from a screenplay sense, you can really do a lot with the idea of like these thin turret type windows. So that's like the viewpoint. She's just seeing like these thin slashes of the class through there. You could do, I think you could do a fair bit with like what's seen and what's not seen through those, but we're not writing a screenplay. So this is just, if we're going to make these windows thin, we might have to do a little editing. He was Radomir Stitch, a skinny boy with thick eyebrows and large, wide-set eyes. Radomir's father worked at Hidden Kernu. Lasso was his... Is it weird to say... I kind of want to say something like she knew him well there. Oh, yeah, all right, it doesn't fit. Okay. Peering down from her perch on the bench, Freya could see thin slashes of the class through the recessed arrow slit windows. A boy in a leotard entered and stood apart from the others. He was Radomir Stitch, a skinny boy with thick eyebrows and large, wide-set eyes. Radomir's father worked at Hidden Kernu. Lasso was his boss's boss. Freya had first met his family. Mm-hmm. Freya knew him well. Radomir's father worked at Hidden Kernu. Lasso was his boss's boss. They'd all met at a company picnic back in the 7th grade. No, too much data. No. Mm-hmm. Lasso was his boss and boss. Freya first met Radomir at a company picnic, not long after his family moved to America. They'd once been close friends, but no longer. Just like everyone else. Uh... Okay, so this one is the she one. So Lassa is her mother, who is kind of like a tough character in this story right here. But yeah, it's well established earlier. So and also Freya doesn't like frequently like she calls her mother by her first name, and she doesn't often think of her in terms of being her mother. So yeah, that's one thing to gander about. Radomir stood at the front of the room and said something. Everyone turned to face him. Freya realized he wasn't taking the class, he was teaching it. For a moment, she was afraid he would look out the window and see her skulking in the rain, but he was too focused. She watched his mouth moving on the other side of the glass. The bench was 10 meters away. The bench was 10 meters away, and the rain was roaring against the steel roof of the walkway, but she still felt like she could hear his Russian accent. She watched his mouth moving on the other side of the glass. The bench was 10 meters away, and the rain was roaring against the steel roof of the walkway, but she could still perfectly imagine what he sounded like. When they'd first met, his Russian accent had been so thick she could barely understand him. He'd gotten so much better in just a few years. Where's the starball right now? The starball is always in her pocket. Absolutely never leaves her pocket right here. I don't think the starball is mentioned this chapter though. So let me see. Which is weird. And so it's definitely mentioned earlier in the chapter, but we don't mention it on the bench right here. The bench is more about her sinking than anything else there. He'd gotten so much better in just a few years. Yeah, that's a spot where you could say something like everyone was growing while she was contracting, but I think it's already obvious from the other shit that we said in the chapter. We don't need to beat the reader over the head with it. Freya looked at the way the girl stood as he spoke with them. He was confident. Hmm. Mm-hmm. So I like that a little bit better than just who's so much more confident now. So it's a little. I think 90% of our editing is just trying to get out of just saying what things are and trying to display them through. If they were all out in the hallway, his eyes would be on their shoes and he would be mumbling. It's a little bit better. I like that. This is the boy who used to shrink into his shoulders and stare at people's shoes when he talked to them. Now he was in his element, holding his head high and speaking confident. It didn't matter at all that he was a junior teaching seniors. Okay, I like that. Radomir began to show the class a series of steps that looked simple when he did them. Oh, much better. Correct a girl who was a head taller than him. She had thick, curly black hair and a ponytail that shout outs to girls with curly black hair. That reminds me of I had an Italian girl that I went out with, and she brought me back to her place and made us pasta and like poured pasta sauce directly out of like a Prego bottle or something like that onto the hot pasta that she had boiled. Didn't cook the sauce or anything. I was like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? I was so outraged by it. But then she gave me incredible oral sex. So all was forgiven. Real talk. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've always been a fan of curly hair myself. I don't know why. So Ninzi says, I just want you to know that I'm here. Not to help, just listening to your dulcet tones punctuating the long silences of writing while I make some beef jerky. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I should have been nicer to that Italian girl, by the way. Nicer than I was. But I should have been nicer to a lot of people. I think that'll be my my deathbed regret, that I could have done so much more. I could have sold my watch and saved 3 more Jews and Trump switch or something like that. You know what I'm talking about here. Lodi's list. All right, what do we got here? She saw Radomir stop everyone and correct a girl who was a head taller than him. Though Freya couldn't see her face, her hair gave her away. Curly and black. It was curly and black. Her ponytail could barely contain it. That had to be Janet Lewis, the captain of the lacrosse team. She was ferocious on the field, but she wasn't one of the better dancers. Freya watched her bring her palm to her forehead in embarrassment. Radomir said something short to her, then went to another girl. Moving out of the frame, Jeanette's head tracked him for an extra beat. Freya wondered if there was something to that, but she couldn't really tell from this position. Another lost cause. I like the idea of her contracting. Because it's a... apparently, fancy scientician is on his way to Ninsi's place to eat some of that jerky. Oh, well, so it's a love connection happening right here in the chat. Hell yeah. That's beautiful. All right, what do we got here? Let me see. Oh, people are linking to Eraser's award-winning rapes. Hell yeah. Yeah, Eraser is getting better in the game. All right, so now we're at the point where I'm going to be writing this out. No, don't fucking do that. Okay, cool. Simply having... God, fucking stuck in my head right there. Mm-hmm. 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 that there's a reason why we're calling it Yates. Mm-hmm. So, fancy scientician ate way too many damn weed cookies last night, and now he feels like he has a cannabis hangover. He should shower the shame away. Take a bath. Take a bath. Drink some coconut water and some orange juice or something like that. Let your brain reset. You know what I mean? Yeah, just take it fucking easy today. It's like Sunday before or Saturday before Christmas. We don't have to do shit. We don't have to do. Oh shit! Hold up. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So apparently, I'm going to Fifth Avenue to look at the lights. Hell yeah. What do we got here? Oh, people had a really good time with the beat contest last night. It's amazing. I'm so glad. I had a really fun time putting that together. It was actually like a fair amount of work to organize the whole thing. Like I had to make a spreadsheet and fucking pester people about it for days, and people kept sending in like multiple versions of their fucking raps that didn't even win. You know, it's ridiculous. Although Eraser won, and I think he sent me like 3 different versions of his track. I honestly like the first cut of his, just FYI, I like the first cut of his beat much better. And in fact, I think we should play the first cut at some point. All right. I'm happy to hear from her. What do we got here? Eads Middle School had been better than Grayson in every way. Freya had liked the teachers better, it was closer to her house, and she had more friends. Even the building was newer, but mostly it was just spending every day with Betty and Jane. Betty and Freya always got a ride for... Oh, wow. Holy shit. Oh, shout outs to people who are now like signing up for my mailing list. I gotta actually start mailing people. So I had a mailing list on my site, but yeah, I guess people are getting sort of interested in the book. So just an FYI, if you're out there, we're at the point where I feel like this work and what we're doing is strong and consistent enough that it would really benefit from getting some more people involved. So if you have friends or whatever that you think would be interested in reading the story thus far, or that might enjoy watching the stream and talking shit, yeah, definitely feel free to like link this if you're like in a writing group or whatever there. I think there's something to be gained from watching this for a lot of people who are just starting off or whatever. And it really is something where I can like I have something to add to these people. I've been doing this for so fucking long. But yeah, I'm happy to take any questions about writing or anything at all in this thing, just to take my mind off of how difficult this shit is, because this is a tough one right here. Mm-hmm. That's actually kind of fucking cute right there. Hell yeah. Um, uh, just starting and inspired to see you putting the work in. Yeah, so I'll just tell you, if you're just starting off in this game, one, I would caution you, don't ever think you're going to make any money at it. Only do it if you absolutely love doing it and feel you have to do it. Absolutely. This is not a good game to, like, if you get into writing, you're going to have a full-time day job for your entire life. It will literally never pay your bills. I know many people who sell just a shit ton of books, like science fiction writers and so forth. And outside of a few people who are just relatively successful with Patreon, everybody has to work a full-time job. There's maybe room at the top for like 100 people in this country. And you might really ask yourself, like, are you one of the top 100 people in your genre? And that being part of that top isn't about writing well. It's about marketing well. So, and everybody says they're not writing for the money at like the very start when you have no money or whatever at the beginning. But I just want people to go into this like clear-eyed. It is a dying craft for the most part, and most people will never make significant money on it. And if you factor in all the time that you put into it, you'll see that you lose a considerable amount of money. But that said, what you gain from it, like every morning, I'm here and I'm looking forward to this when I go to bed. You know, I think about this all day long, and I love doing this. I will probably not stop until I'm dead. It is the greatest joy in my life, but it took me at least 10 years of doing this to get to the point where I wasn't frustrated by my shortcomings or upset with the lack of success. I really had to like grind it out, and getting to a writing practice where I could consistently go out every day and get like an hour in or 2 hours in or 3 hours in or whatever also took probably about a decade to work up to. And like there's just no substitute for putting the work in. Maybe some people, yeah, they're going to be a few people who from like a very young age are successful with their writing, and then they can get some really professional editors behind them to make up for a lot of their shortcomings. But for the vast majority of us, we're just going to have to fucking grind it out. You know, I'm here doing this hard editing work because I don't have $10,000 in the bank. Although really, I should have just sold CJ's nudes last night. Like, I can't believe Vay was offering me $10,000 for CJ's nudes, and there's just no fucking. I would never give up those nudes under any circumstances. But yeah, man. Anyhow, like I always tell people, like only get into this if you absolutely love it and feel like you need to do it right there. And then the biggest improvement that you're going to have is doing it every single day. So Stratum says, I only do audiobooks anymore. Same for lots of people I know. Audiobooks seem to cost more than paperbacks, so maybe that's good for the future of writing. A little bit, yeah. I honestly, just more and more people are just moving into where the primary medium that they consume is Netflix-style shows for the most part. And they're just like a much more effective storytelling device than reading, which requires a lot from the reader. Like the reader has to imagine a scene. They have to sit there and stare at a screen or at like a dead tree or whatever, and they have to imagine the scene with a little help from the reader. Netflix doesn't require any effort. You just have to like passively be there and be like, ooh. And I will tell you, like the more in entertainment, the more you require from your audience, the smaller that audience will be. And that's always been the case. Like the period where books were super popular was a time where, frankly, there just weren't great alternatives. You could listen to the radio or something like that. But and in fact, at that time, people did have huge radio dramas and plays, but there simply wasn't like there wasn't quite enough media to keep people going all the time, and like the cool shit wouldn't be on the radio 24/7. Now, literally, you could watch 24 hours a day and not consume all the decent media that's out there. You know, like your standards would change as it was going on, and you become jaded, and like less and less stuff would be able to produce that dopamine response from you. But literally, like more than 24 hours a day of quality programming is coming out, and that's just how it is. So, yeah, like I have a dim view of the future of this, but I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't have a fucking choice, you know. Like I sunk decades into this, and I'm like at the height of my powers in it, and the height of my powers in it is live streaming for like 3 people on Twitch. Shout outs to Twitch, shout outs to Frack. But yeah, that's the just the keys to getting better at this. Doing it every single day. It really is like practicing an instrument or whatever, where you will get better and better through repetition. And I always bring up my favorite quote from Ray Bradbury. He's like, you don't write every day because you'll write something beautiful every day. But when the day comes for you to write something beautiful, you will be ready for it. Hell yeah. So yeah, I really got to get my ass moving on making audiobooks of this shit, Stratum. Like I'm so lazy about recording them. And I just put all my time into, like, when I'm like self-conscious about doing something or worried that I won't do it well, I will just do other stuff. Like I finished several books just so that I didn't have to edit other books. You know what I mean? Like it's tough as fuck. Anyhow, let's get back to it. Yeats Middle School had been better than Grayson in every way. Freya had liked the teachers better. Freya had liked the teachers better. It was closer to her house. She had more friends. Even the building was newer. But mostly it was just spending every day with Betty and Jane. Betty and Freya always rode to school together, sitting in the front seat of Randall's truck. He would tell them all the dumb things people had gotten arrested for the night before, and sometimes he could make Betty laugh so hard she would snort. Mm-hmm. Cool. Oh yeah, shit. Yeah, and I'm happy. Anybody who's participating in this stream in like a meaningful context, like here fairly often, I will take a look at your shit if you want, and give you like a few pieces of feedback where appropriate or something like that. I will tell you, if you do fan fiction, I'm not a good candidate or whatever there. And in general, like yeah, my criticism tends to be fairly harsh. I'm working on getting like a little bit more constructive with it, but definitely don't send me something if you think it's trash, because I got teeth. But yeah, I can tell you a little bit more about. So Fancy Scientician can't stand audiobooks unless I'm the voice. I've only done one fucking audiobook really, so I'm really not a skilled audiobook reader at this point. But we're working on it. Part of doing all this narration is a little bit of practice for audiobooks, and I am going to take my crack at survival mode. I reread it recently. It's dope. Let's see. Mm-hmm. No, shit, did your blind pal really love the... So, Fancy Scientician, if you have a friend who's blind, um, I'm going to do an audiobook for The Master Arcanist, which is a book I wrote about an old wizard who was going blind. Real talk. And like, actually, I don't know if you remember it, but I went blind for about a month after complications with laser surgery. And everything in that book tracked out. I wrote it before I ever went blind, but after I went blind, I was like, wow, I was on fucking point with how this is for the book. So, yeah, a big part of why I want to do audiobooks is I do want people who are blind to be able to get into this game. So, yeah, I really, that's got to be like my fucking New Year's resolution to get these books done because I only have until it gets too hot in my attic. Yeah, so, well, don't buy it. Like if it's for your friend or whatever, like if he's not able to read it, because I don't have an audiobook version of it yet, but I'm going to record one. But you can download it for free on my site, and I don't know, read it to your friend and give him a handy, and you'll do part for fucking Christmas cheer and everything. But yeah, check it out. It's on zachzyz.com. So the nice one, if you do want to buy a copy of that book, that's one where I really went all out with like the interior illustrations and the graphic design and everything in it. It is kind of like a neat book copy. But nobody read that fucking book. Oh my God. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, for yourself? Yeah, definitely check out the hard copy on that one because I really went ham with the illustrations in there. All right, so how does this track? Mm-hmm. 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 It's a hard one to get here. Hell yeah. Oh, you got survival. Oh, if you haven't read Survival Mode, fucking enjoy that one there. Everybody likes that one for some reason there. Yeah, let me know if you enjoy them. As always, if you read these books and you have a good time with them, you do me like such a service if you can review them on Amazon and Goodreads. And if you don't enjoy them, you do me such a service if you do not review them on Amazon and Goodreads. Just putting it out there, boys. That's how the review game works. Jar. Oh, I fucking love that Hawks. So if you liked Hawks, I want to do an audiobook for that. I would like, what do you think about that in terms of I might try to get a woman to read Hawks, right? Rather than doing the audiobook myself. I might like shop that one around. I could do the ACX exchange or something like that. Um, I think it would be a little bit better to have a woman read it. The other thing that I want is I want to get somebody to cover Eggs and Sausages by Tom Waits for the intro part of it right there. That would just be so fucking dope. Just Eggs and Sausages, and then we do the reading. It'd be fucking. I would love that. I think there's a reading of it. Like it's not online anymore, but we read it for Story Hour on LRH once. All right, let's get back down to it there. Mm. I think I can get Shillery to do it. Oh my god, can you imagine Hitlery Cunton reading Hawks at the Diner? Ah, She would be like, I hate her voice, right? And like half the reason why I'm glad Cheeto Jesus Donatellas won the fucking thing. I just didn't want to hear that woman talk every fucking day. I gotta tell you, like one of the things that I dislike about like there were a lot of women running in the Democratic field, and 2-1, none of them have great voices. You know what I mean? I would just love for them to have somebody who had a good voice. Gabbard is like okay, but her delivery is like very robotic and stilted. Warren is just really annoying sounding. Gillibrand, I never want to hear her voice again for the rest of my fucking life, ever. Get off the stage. I guess the closest, I can't remember what Marianne Williamson or whatever her name was sounded like there. But yeah, there are just, somebody's got to do like, I don't know, maybe you can't train somebody to have like a solid voice or whatever. But, and I do think it's there is a much higher, it's much more difficult for women to be seen as having pleasant speaking voices, potentially just because of societal bias or whatever there. I don't know, like maybe deeper sounding voices are inherently more listenable to people. But yeah, man. Maybe they should just like sing all their fucking platforms at that debate stage. I could not get through the most recent debate. Just this year, I just haven't been able to do it. They've been rough. Every morning, Freya woke up excited. She couldn't wait to go to school and see everyone. She couldn't wait to go to school and see all her friends. Half the reason she got involved with drama was so she would have an excuse to stay longer. Most nights, Randall stay longer. Most nights, both Randall and Lassa had to work late. She hated being alone in the empty house. They caught me holding two dicks. The Seven Eyes audiobook was read by a woman, and it was great. The only one I've heard, not by a man, though. Yeah, so science fiction books don't tend to be largely read by women, although, you know, like the field is changing so much. Women writers are winning like all the Hugos and Nebulas now. And in general, like you got a lot more female protagonists. And if you have a female protagonist, you kind of should most likely have a female narrator. Just so the bulk of the voices will be female. And like, you know, like my best crack at a female voice is, I don't think there's any dialogue in this chapter here. But like, what do I got there? I'm sorry, Freya said, and Lassa just not. Yeah, you know, like that's not a fucking that's not a winner right there. Yeah, I often wonder like if the radio play style things are better, but I think most people just prefer to have a single narrator. But c'est la vie. Every morning, Freya woke up excited. She couldn't wait to go to school and see all of her friends. Half the reason she got involved with drama was so she would have an excuse to stay longer. Stay later. Most nights, both Randall and Lassa had to work late. She hated being alone in the empty house. Perfect. Okay. So here we've taken like this, we've taken a little bit more time to establish. I had an audiobook read by an old woman, and it was great. So I'm not trying to say like women don't have good voices and women can't narrate, and in fact, like there are some really spectacular female narrators out there, right? And I have like friends where they have great fucking voices, and like one of the big reasons why I was like intensely attracted to my ex was I thought she had like a fantastic fucking voice, really really good voice. And generally I won't date somebody unless I like the sound of their voice. It's like one of the big deal breakers for me there. And so definitely not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is that the current crop of Democratic political candidates, I'm not a big fan of the way that they sound. Um, let's see. Yeah, I couldn't think of really any one of them where I like the sound of their voice, and maybe like I'm um, reading into some. I like the way old Bernardo sounds. I think he sounds okay. But yeah, and Biden used to sound better, but really he's got like a lot of age seeping into his voice, and he just sounds so worn out to me. You know what I mean? It's hard for him. You know, I'm gonna get old too. My voice is gonna come apart. Like nothing is forever. Uh, but like yeah, Yang has a weird fucking intonation. Uh, I don't like Buttigieg at all. Uh, Bloomberg sounds fucking ridiculous, even though I spent $100 million. I hope he fucking gets in there and just runs third party and breaks everything. That'd be dope. But you know me, I want the chaos. I don't think the platforms matter. Um, every morning, Freya woke up excited. She couldn't wait to go to school and see all her friends. Half the reason she got involved with drama was so she would have an excuse to stay later. Every morning, Freya woke up excited. She couldn't wait to get to Yeats and see all her friends. Half the reason she got involved with drama was so she would have an excuse to stay after school. Most nights, both Randall and Lassa had to work late. She hated being alone in the empty house. I like that. I like the establishment of her as just being kind of a little distant from everybody. God. Okay. Yeah, let's take out the company picnic part of it. Mm. So DWDW says, can you roll your eyes back and make them fully white like The Undertaker? It's a WWE fan. While I'm not willing to do that for the purposes of this broadcast, if you ever come to New York, I will gladly autoerotically asphyxiate you and bring you to your ultimate climax. You have to sign a waiver, and then you will get the eye rolling back of your dreams right there. Very happy to have somebody fulfill their true purpose in this life. So just out, for the fans out there, if you'd like to get choked half or even all the way to dead, just hit me up because I'm into that. His name was Radomir Stitch. His father worked in Lasse's department at Hiddenkernu. She was his boss's boss. Radomir was a skinny boy with thick eyebrows and large, wide-set eyes. Freya had been friends with him since 7th grade. They'd once been close, but no longer, just like everyone else. Oh, big improvement in this paragraph. Fucking happy about that. Yes, I don't know what's up today. There's like a lot more gay shit happening in the chat. I just want to let you guys know, if you want to type gay shit in the chat, I'm totally fine with it. You can be gay all day for pay. You can do whatever the fuck you want, honestly. I do value more the people who are actively engaged in making this a better novel. But shit, I don't care. Let your fucking freak flag fly, man. You know, this is a no spin zone. Spin.gif zone. All right, what do we got here? So I like that a little bit better as our intro to Radmir. Okay, so I think so here I want to change this to middle school. One, because we're gonna have some international readers on this, like 2, and the American school system does not work the same way as the European school system, and it certainly doesn't work the same way as the Indian school system or the Chinese school system. So we want to establish this distinction of middle school here, because later we're going to talk about Yeats Middle School, and that will, like, so when you're writing there, a reader who is not in the States is not necessarily going to connect middle school and 7th grade the same way that whatever would it. And in some places in the States, they still go under the name junior high, although I think middle school is increasingly more popular for, what is it, like fucking 6th through 8th grade? Or was it like 6th through 9th grade? I don't know. I haven't been at high school in forever. Okay. So I think this is a good chapter. This is a good improvement. So just an FYI, I don't, we had like some Finnish people. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Use Amazon often. Oh, somebody's like blogging about getting banned in LRH. I'm not gonna ban people while I'm busy editing there. Oh, gotta get some exercise in this morning, man. All right, so Freya first had Radomir thrust upon her by Lasse. Freya first had Radomir thrust upon her by Lassa. Her mother had introduced the two at a hidden Kurnu. Freya first met Freya first. Freya's first meeting with Radomir was thrust upon her by Lassa. Her mother introduced them at a hidden Kurnu company. Her mother introduced him. Freya's first meeting with Radomir was thrust upon her by Lassa. Her mother had introduced them at a hidden curtain. It's hard to get this wording right. Her mother had introduced them at a hidden Kurnu company picnic. So I think hidden Kurnu in Finnish means like secret cave of the trolls or troll under the mountain or something like that. Shoutouts to Pound LRH standing for Learn Real Hacking. I love that. It's awful. Fucking killing me inside here, boys. All right, what are we at? We're at 9:20. I want to finish this chapter before we terminate this stream here. So we're going to keep working on it. Even though we're usually on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to edit a little lighter, I think, there. Let's see. Her mother had introduced them at a hidden Kurnu company picnic and then abandoned Freya, leaving her trapped in an awkward and awful conversation. I think awkward and awful is... Freya tried to soldier through out of politeness. Yeah, she just talked louder so that he could understand her. Oh, shots of vapor in the chat right there. Freya tried to soldier through out of politeness, but she got nothing back from Radomir. He obviously had nothing to say and didn't want to be there. That's what we want. That is exactly what we want. Mm. 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 Things weren't any better for him at Yeats. Things weren't any better for Radomir at Yeats. He'd arrived halfway through the school year, and everyone had already decided who their friends were. No one was enthused about making room for someone they could barely understand. Freya felt sorry for him, and for a while she tried to be nice to Freya felt sorry for Radomir, and for a while she tried to be nice to him. She would say hi when they passed in the hall. Hmm. Cool. Yeah, this is much better. Ah, love that. Oh, people are astir about the rap contest. I got to pay my winners today. Shit is gonna be real. All right, hold up. I'm gonna get back into this right here. What time would that be? What would she give a shit? All right, let me take a hot second. I've got some messages coming, and I'm going to think about what they would talk about. You can also suggest what would the three of them be talking about at their lunch table in 7th grade in the year. So that would be, so she's in 10th grade now, 3 years ago. So it's the year 2026. These are a bunch of 13 and 12-year-old girls sitting at a lunch table. I'll take audience votes for what the fuck they should be talking about. Crying on the subway, but now everything is different. Mm. Uh, Let me see. Mm. What the fuck would they be talking about this? So these girls are all sort of nerds. I don't know. Maybe they're talking about Star Trek. These fucking kids talk about Star Trek. Girls talk about people who aren't there. About their periods. That's not a good suggestion. I'm not gonna. Yeah. 2 months later during lunch, she was sitting with Betty and Jane talking about their periods. Yeah. That's fucking terrible. Awful fucking suggestion. Ugh, peak cringe. Let me see there. Yeah, like I don't know why I'm like struggling with this idea. What are they talking about? World of Warcraft. What the fuck did I talk about? I think I talked a lot about music when I was when I was like 13 or 14. I was like into fucking Warhammer and comic books and Dungeons and Dragons and fucking what do you call it? Yeah, I was into like skateboarding and can you believe what she was wearing? Uh about smashing the patriarchy. Uh Mm. Mm. The puppy Mr. Hendricks had brought into science class. Uh, so Stratum's suggestion is the fact that woman witch doesn't exist, but man witch does. A Chile-based assessment of modern sexism that evades them. Lol at this. Nobody knows. Well, I don't like, keep in mind, it's been like more than like 25 years since I was like 13. So really, I just have to wonder, like, what the fuck was important there? Because it's a lunchroom too. It's not like a situation where you're just blogging about who likes who or whatever. And these are relatively unpopular girls. Like, so like, yeah, let's think a little bit more about their motivation right there. So this is like an unpopular set of girls who are like more academic um, than other people. Uh, my wife doesn't talk to women. She has no idea. Wait, you still have a wife? Did that fucking happen? Wait, did you reconcile, Specuwa? That's so cool. If so, or is this a new wife? So she doesn't talk to women. She has no idea. Well, I mean, keep in mind that these are just human beings, right? There's a small twist because girls talk a little bit differently at that age than men do. But let's think a little bit about their motivation. I like the idea that they're just talking about a fucking puppy, so that might work out. 2 months later, during lunch, she was sitting with Betty and Jane. But yeah, like also, would you remember exactly what she was talking about? Would you remember like the conversation that you were having at lunch 3 years ago? Right? Like how much of an eidetic memory do we want to give this character? Um, hmm so I think that's okay. 12-year-old girls would have just gone from elementary to junior high. Maybe they talk about the transition. About I doubt they talk about periods because yeah, I was on top of that right away, saying that it was a terrible fucking idea. Yeah, I remember being embarrassed by like a lot of shit. You don't at that age, everything is fucking embarrassing and mortifying and so forth. It's actually like we talk a little bit about how she would ride to school with her father, um, and like definitely there's a transition point where the where like just anything your parents do is a little bit like where you're trying to break away and establish your own identity and everything, and you really just are so awkward and fucking insecure in every single thing you do. Um, He walked around scowling every day, his dark eyebrows slanted as if he was perpetually having. Dark eyebrows slanted as if every day was worse than the one before. Finally, Freya gave up. I love that this shit here is like a parallel to what 12-year-olds are still pretty kid-like and what they talk about. Yeah, I'm just not around adolescents hardly at all. I just hear them on the subway and they're fucking unbearable, and I tune them out. Um, so I think we're okay with like they're it's like a pretty safe thing. Uh, I'm an above board uncle. She talks about horses, YouTube videos, and making slime. I'm not gonna go. Fucking I'm not gonna go there. Awful. Um, Mr. Hendricks had brought his Boston Terrier Winky to art class. I'm gonna make it a Schnauzer. Fuck it, I love those dogs. I love that the art teacher brings in his Schnauzer and like has his class sketch him. That's fucking. I love that. I wish my fucking art teacher had done that in high school. Like that's the best part about writing. You can just make up shit that you wish had happened right there. All right, so I'm we we spent almost 20 minutes coming up with what the fuck a bunch of 13-year-olds were talking about. No, this is too much. No. Wait, is bi-monthly every 2 months or every, I think bi-weekly? Who got sent to the principal's office bi-monthly? I think bi-monthly is once every 2 months. What's the difference between, how do you say twice a month? Is it just twice a month? Oh, bi-monthly, twice a month. All right, fucking bi-monthly. Maybe something about how it's as regular as a paycheck. Is that track? I think. So Jordan O, shout out to Jordan O right there, who came very, very close to winning the rap contest within one vote. You just need one more friend, Jordan O, and you would have fucking had it right there. But actually, like a really strong showing. I think people really responded to the fact that his raps were from the heart and that his heart was full of hate for Dwayne. Real talk. So excellent showing there. I'm excited to see what you can do with more polish. So apparently bi-monthly is twice a month, which makes sense. Their table was very close to the stoner slash skateboarder table, a raucous group of 8th graders whose bi-monthly visits to the principal's office came as regularly as a paycheck. No, I think people get paid bi-weekly. Um, uh, I like that. Okay. Their table was very close to the stoner slash skateboarder table, a raucous group of 8th graders whose bi-weekly visits to the principal's office were as regular as a paycheck. I like that. I think it's a little strained, right? But it's strained enough that I like it. I just take this fucking job and shove it. I ain't editing this no more. Shout out to Visitor 73 who said, "Who wants chili?" And then there is a Santa Pepe. Uh, is that Kevin Chili Boss as Visitor 73 right there? Lord have mercy. What do we got here? Oh God, he's eating Hormel's spaghetti meal. This is fucking awful. Gross, she hissed, nudging Jane and Betty. Lord of mercy, boomba clat. Real talk, boomba chat. Malcolm Lewis. Red Jello and chalky milk. So Impulse Filter says, "Lol, WTF is this kid doing? Is this kid pregnant?" He caught her eye and winked at her. Gross, she hissed, nudging Jane and Betty. Red Jello and chocolate milk. Fucking gross. Mm-hmm. Fucking Jello grenade. So Impulse Filters says, one time when I was 12, we had cliques and shit. Skaters and prep. I was a skater. I don't know why, but one time I went up to the preps table, looked at them for a second, and then slammed a chocolate pudding down on their table, and it got all over them. I got lunch detention. Oh. Yeah, we used to get this fucking chocolate milk that came in like plastic bags, and we would just do awful shit with it. Just so many. We do shit like pull up the ceiling tiles and throw it in the rafters so that it would like rot and stink and everything. uh, One time in the military, we did like a similar thing. We went down to the fish market and bought like this enormous. I think the fucking fish cost like $20. It's like this big ass fish, and then we took the fish and rolled up a dollar bill and put it in his mouth and then put lipstick on it. Of course, we all had lipstick because back in those days, everybody in the military was transgender. It was the law. And then we just put the fish up in the ceiling tile for somebody to find with like this rolled up. I think it was a $5 bill, like a $5 bill rolled up his mouth and lipstick, and it just rotted for like a month before somebody figured out what the fuck was going on. Oh, that's awful. What do we got here? So we got musique, les adolescentes, and yeah, we're just This novel is set in high school right here, so there's a lot of reminiscing about all the dirt that we did back in the day. I'm a menace crook. I did so much dirt, I need to be in the Guinness book. Real talk. All right, so mm, let me see. So, Musique Adolescent says, if I needed some ideas for my own book, may I ask you? I'm a young fan fiction writer and a fiction writer too. So I'm happy to talk about the craft of writing and like some of my ideas about it and what I think the best practices for getting better at writing are. In general, I'm not a fan of fan fiction. I think it's a good place for people to start off, especially when you're younger. But I definitely encourage people as soon as you possibly can get into creating your own worlds, creating your own characters, and so forth. Don't use other people's work as a crutch. I will tell you that the writers who write things like Warhammer Fantasy books and Dungeons and Dragons books and fucking Star Wars books and so forth, they have a miserable existence. That is not fun writing to do. Like working in somebody else's work. And another sad thing about it is that like working in video games where you're executing someone else's vision and so forth, it's not, I mean, I'm only speaking from my own perspective, but to me, that's not fun. I want my own shit. And I feel like it's definitely good to start with your own thing. So yeah, definitely don't, I'm not telling people don't write fan fiction or whatever, but definitely try to focus on making your own stuff as strong as you possibly can. And that'll just pay off so much better for you in the long run. Um, really, like, this is your chance to make your vision of what you want the world to be. Uh, it doesn't have to include what anybody else likes. Anyhow, good luck with that. But yeah, like if you run into a problem or something like that with working something out, that's all we do here on the stream is work out problems with this book. Like this chapter right now, we're fixing it because it was in Pluperfect, and Pluperfect is fucking trash, especially for a long period of time. So we're rewriting the chapter to be in just past tense, doing it as a flashback. And so far, I'm like very happy with this decision. Although I'm happy with like all the editing decisions so far. So I may not be the most objective observer, but yeah, I'm a big fan of this. And so like if you're watching the stream, like our goals here, we're taking something where I think the setting wasn't well described, the action, like so here's one thing that you can do is every day of this one, there's like a recording of each of these streams on my website, zachzyz.com. With that recording, you'll see what's called a differential edit, where you can see the original chapter and you can see the edited chapter side by side in like a track changes view there. And you can really see the huge amount of improvement that we're able to make with the edit. As you're watching the video, I'll comment on some of what our objectives were with each of these things, and you can learn a little bit about what my ideas are about revision right there. So we got snort from Boo right there. Maybe just got to the part in the stream where let me see. Thanks. I can understand why when somebody constantly works on books for another vision can be a headache, as the books need to be perfect based on, yeah, like honestly, like if you work in comic books or if you work in like an established universe like Warhammer or any of these IPs, like even the Witcher IP has stuff going on with that. You constantly have to work within the continuity of other people. And one of the things that I don't like about like the Marvel universe and so forth is there is not consistent quality through that writing. There are so many people working on this thing and they have like a lot of dumb ideas. And I really think it's a lot of too many cooks, just like that fucking video where the guy murders all those people, too many cooks. And I'm a big fan of singular visions. There are a few books that I've liked where they have been two people working on a book. I think that's kind of an exception there. Like especially for genre fiction, two people can put out some decent books. There are a lot of books that are put out by two people. But wait, what spoilers are we even talking about here? What about Marvel being garbage? No, like I don't know. It's not my kettle of fish. My favorite books that were written by two people are the like whole Dragons of Autumn Twilight or whatever. Oh, the spoilers for Too Many. Everybody's seen Too Many Cooks, man. That's not a spoiler. But yeah, like the Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, who did like the original Dragonlance stuff, and then the Raceline, whatever the other guy. Who's his fucking brother right there? His name's like Cameron or Dongeron or something like that. Anyhow, everybody only remembers Raceland because he's the interesting character between the two of them. His brother's just a fucking oaf. And the drunk right there. But like the Test of the Twins, I loved those books when I was a kid. When I was like 14, maybe like 12, I started and then read them all by the time I was like 14. They were fucking dope. I love that shit. And those were written by two women who worked in quite. I would love to like find out, like see an interview with the two of them where they talked about their process for co-working with somebody. I will never, ever, 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 ever in my life like co-put out any kind of writing with somebody there, because I'm kind of an insufferable cunt about this, and I want this to be my shit. Yeah, I don't go to like editing groups and so forth where they do like the clearing process or whatever. I'm not with it. Yeah. And the only editors that I want to work with are people who have been in this game for like 20 years, which is weird because here I am like taking a bunch of feedback from a Twitch audience, but I think my audience is the smartest people in the world. Anyhow, let's get to this chapter. Yeah, Showed No Emotion is Radomir stood up and slowly turned around to face the rest of the cafeteria. His fists were clenched at his sides, and he showed no emotion. Yeah, showed no emotion is a bad way to put about that. What? I gotta get this fucking italic out of here. It's driving me crazy right there. Too many cooks, too many. Oh, wait. Also, what should I get for lunch, people? I can order anything I want. I think it's gonna be my somebody fucking pretending to be Chrono? Or is that the actual Chrono? Uh oh, are we all supposed to be mailing shit to MTW? I don't know. I gotta get with Chrono at a second there. But mm-hmm. Freya could still remember the way he'd stared at them. He wasn't angry. Radomir wasn't angry or embarrassed. His eyes were wells of sadness, like this was just the latest in a long line of disappointments. Finally, a teacher had broken the silence. Miss Mateo rushed over and asked Radomir who had thrown the jello at him. I saw nothing. I will go home now and clean up, Radomir said, gathering up his spattered book bag. Miss Mateo tried to tell him that he couldn't just... Okay, yeah, so I like this one. The jello grenade had scored a direct hit on the back of Radmir Stitch's head. The whole cafeteria exploded in howls of disgust. With bits of red and brown gunk... Oh, we don't need hyphens. With bits of red and brown gunk running down his neck, Radomir stood up and slowly turned around to face the rest of them. The rest of the cafeteria. Yeah. With bits of red and brown gunk running down his neck, Radomir stood up and slowly turned around to face them. His fists were clenched at his side. His eyes moved from person to person. It felt like he was memorizing their faces. Okay, my first book's idea is as follows. What if steam train racing was as popular as car street racing in 2020? The reason for this idea is that I am a huge nerd for steam trains. So I think It's a good premise for a short story. Um, the idea of what if you just took away cars and everything was just steam trains? Like for some reason we never made the transition to anything but steam trains. I would love to just see a world where inexplicably steam trains are fucking everywhere. Like that's the MTA, that's it. And we have like cell phones and all kinds of modern technology, and it's our only means of locomotion is actually locomotives. I kind of like that idea. Um, so when you do something that's like a super niche hobby or whatever, like steam trains or something like that, it's probably it's a hard sell because you just have to realize not that many people like trains in the world. So you have to come up with like a compelling reason why everybody is really into steam train racing. Like what's people's motivation? And it's probably not just steam trains are fucking cool, because the most people steam trains are just like, all right, yeah, like I like the sound that they make, but they don't get a hard on for steam trains the way that people who like follow trains around and get all excited about them and like sit at stations and um, like stare at washing machines because they spinning, that kind of shit. And that relates to like a very small audience there. And if you want to reach that audience, I'm sure like trains are one of those things. There are people who will just buy any fucking thing that they can get about trains. If you want to reach to a broader audience, I would suggest just a book about a steam train race. And you just have to come up with like a compelling reason why these steam trains are racing and what it means to the protagonists, and just tie it up in some kind of story. So I've been on I've been on 4 or 5 steam train rides in my life, and I've watched 10 real life steam videos on YouTube, and it's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you can really write a story about anything as long as there's like a human element in it that people can relate to. Like as long as this guy's motivation for winning the steam train race is something that people can relate to, and people can have like somebody that they can root for and so forth. What you'll want to do is really just watch any of the really great race movies that are out there, such as Triumph of the Will, or American History X, or there's a new one now, Ford versus Ferrari, about racing, and really get an idea for what makes a good race movie. And just almost all of it is going to be them talking up the drama between the two racers and so forth. Like every story at its core is not about the things that are in the story. It's about the dramatic tension between the humans in the story. So as long as you keep that in mind when you're working on your story, you could really have a world. I do like the idea of the world. Like, so spoiler, I hate steampunk and I think it's retarded. I just like cogs and this throwback shit. They're never well justified. Even like, what is it? Fucking one of my favorite writers. Oh God, I don't know why I'm blanking on it. Alistair Reynolds does like a bunch of steampunk shit, like Chasm City and some other stuff. Miss me with that steampunk shit. But that said, like there's still room for like an interesting world where everything runs in steam. So you're tapping into like a couple of different fringe communities there. So yeah, worthwhile. I've seen footage of the Australian steam train. You know what I want? Like, and this is like a stupid sounding plot, right? But I want just engineer a situation where a terrorist has hijacked a steam train and they're gonna like crash it into an orphanage or something like that, and it's up to the plucky crew of the little train that couldn't, like Thomas the Tank Engine, to fucking catch this train and catch it at one of those connector things and ram their train into the terror train to avert catastrophe. And maybe the protagonist leaps off of the train just before the explosion. I love the idea of terrorists using a fucking steam train for some reason. Like old timey. Maybe you could have somebody tied to their rails at some point. God, that's a story I would watch. Anyhow, Let me get down to finishing this chapter because I'm not even through, and I have to take my girl to see the Christmas lights at like 3 p.m. The jello grenade scored a direct hit on the back of Radmir Stitch's head. The whole cafeteria exploded in howls of disgust. Exploded in howls of delight and disgust. With bits of red and brown gunk running down his neck, Radmir stood up and slowly turned around to face them. His fists were clenched at his sides. His eyes moved from person to person, lingering on each. It felt like he was memorizing their faces. All the laughter and shouting slowly died away. All the laughter and shouting. The laughter died. Freya could still remember the way he'd stared at them. Radimir wasn't angry or embarrassed. His eyes were wells of sadness, like this was just the latest in a long line of disappointments. Finally, a teacher broke the silence. No, so Spathiwa says that his love for steampunk is like his love for Marx. Said it recently. I like Marx, but I hate Marxists. Huh. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I like really that can apply to like so many elements of fandom. Like there are so many like shows and types of media and stuff where they're great, but the people who like them are really fucking insufferable. There, like the Load Radio Hour, for instance. No, no. I gotta stop saying the name of this fucking show on this stream here. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. But anyhow, yeah, like the there's a lot of fandoms that are just fucking insufferable, and I think Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons are the absolute worst offenders. But that's just based on aroma. I'm sure that Steven Universe and Rick and Morty and there's a lot of other awful shit out there where you just would never want to be locked in a room with a fan of that particular program. But I digress. I will go home now, he told her, speaking slowly as if she were an idiot. He left her there and I will go home now, he told the teacher, speaking slowly as if she were an idiot. Okay, so there we call her a teacher there. Uh, does Radomir talk like Chekhov from Star Trek, or is that just me? Um, yeah, one of the things that we'll probably have to do in a secondary edit there is maybe work with somebody who speaks Russian. I actually have a few friends who speak Russian, and I just want to get um, the words that he leaves out or the things that I want to do a little work to get his like very basic English more like Russian person just learning English. You know what I mean? So maybe he would just say, I go home now or whatever there. So we're going to write it as correct English first, and then we need a native speaker to make it worse. Like this is my theory on, and I do not at all, not at all do I do this myself. But if we're talking exactly correctly, I think generally you want to err on the side of making your characters talk more correctly. Because I think most of the time when authors try to write people as being foreign or having an accent or whatever, it's just fucking insufferable. You know what I mean? Just awful, awful. Like it's so much better to just write kind of very simply for these people, and then try to make small changes. It's just like accents are really like adding salt to something, and it's much easier to overdo than to underdo. Okay, I will go home now, he told the teacher, speaking slowly as if she were an idiot. He turned away from her and walked out the side entrance of the cafeteria. Miss Mateo shouted after Radomir. But he ignored her completely. Hell yeah. Radomir is a fucking G. So I want to include... So I wonder if we should just include her dialogue here. So why are we making this choice where Mrs. Mateo's dialogue isn't spoken? I'm afraid you'll need to come to the office with me. No one is leaving here until we find out who threw it. Threw the jello. Shout outs to the Cosby right there. The Cosby. I saw nothing. I saw nothing, Radomir said. He was gathering up his spattered book bag. I will go home now to clean up. I'm sorry, you'll need to come to the office with me. No one is leaving here until... I'm sorry, but that's not possible. We're going to the principal's office. No one is leaving here until we find out who threw that jello. Radomir gave her a look like she was insane. I will go home now, he told the teacher. I will go home now, he told the teacher, speaking slowly, as if she were an... as if to an idiot. So I hopefully, our shout outs to Dostoevsky right here are not lost on these people. Hell yeah. I will go home now, he told the teacher, speaking slowly as if to an idiot. He turned away from her and walked out the side entrance to the cafeteria. Miss Mateo shouted after Radomir, ordering him to return, but he ignored her completely. Everyone watched him cross the parking lot through the windows and disappear up the street. Radomir was given 3 days of in-school suspension for leaving without permission. No one would rat on Malcolm. He was the biggest boy in the 8th grade. In a way, Malcolm did Radomir a huge favor. After that, he was no longer the weird, effeminate foreign kid. He was the one who'd stared down everyone, then told the teacher to fuck off. That was how everyone told the story, even though he hadn't really said that. Freya couldn't get the way he'd stared at her out of her mind. When Radomir got out of ISS, she invited him to sit at the table with them. Hmm. Hmm. Doing and ululating. So Anne looks so wrong there to me. It doesn't feel right. I think it should be a ululating. Who's the choreographer for the Fifth Element? Da, 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 da. It's Diva Plaga Laguna. Uh, let's see if we can find. Oh, it doesn't have the fucking choreographer in there. So so Plandum. Oh yeah. Apparently, there's a the diva dance from the Fifth Element. I don't want the fucking. Okay, cool. Diva Plava Laguna. This is kind of neat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The iconic scene. Yeah, like everybody remembers that fucking scene. Shout out to the Fifth Element. I love that movie when it came out in the old theaters. Hopefully, this is not piping a bunch of sound through our fucking. It's not cool. I think I have it. Shout out to all the shit that we research on this gas chromatography and. Oh, it dawns on me. I actually know somebody who owns a bunch of gas chromatography equipment. I could ask him to get those fucking scenes right if we ever do that. Um, good God Almighty. All right, is it lunchtime yet? I'm getting hungry. No, it's not lunchtime. Ah. Mm. The choreographer was uncredited. Uh, oh, apparently it was Mia Fry. Known for her work on The Fifth Element. And, oh, she was a TV stewardess on it. She's on the Femme Nikita? Huh. What does she fucking do? Oh, whatever. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. Yeah, this is slow work. Oh, I guess we're rewriting the chapter. The rewrites are always like relatively slow, I feel, and so this is a chapter that needed heavy work. So we're making progress. I'll be back in like 2-3 minutes. uh, 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 uh. We're back. All right. We don't have much more of this chapter. Is it Mia Fry? Whatever. Oh, let's actually get this. Oh, cool. Well, who the hell is that? So that's the. She was. I think Mia Fry was the squid-headed singer in The Fifth Element, and she also did the choreography for that dance. And really, this is just a way for Freya's excitement for science fiction and his love of ballet to intersect. Mm-hmm. It was the first time they'd ever really gotten him to talk. As soon as the topic was dance, he was a broken faucet. Everything came flowing out. They learned that Radomir's family had moved from the Czech Republic to Moscow, and he'd wanted to be a dancer for as long as he could remember. He'd started ballet when he was 8 and pursued it seriously all the way until uh, so his dad's name is Dymek. That's what a fucking G right there. It's like the most gangsta name. Dymek. Slav strong. All right. They learned that Radomir's family had moved from the Czech Republic to Moscow when he was very young, and he wanted to be a dancer for as long as he could remember. He'd started ballet when he was 8 and pursued it seriously until earlier this year when his father Dymek got the job with Hiddenkernu. When he arrived in Maine, When Radomir arrived in Maine, he was despondent to find himself stuck in Silas, hundreds of miles from anything close to civilization. Anything close to culture. Anything resembling a real ballet studio. He took a 4-hour bus ride to Portland every Friday night and stayed at a hotel room on his own, returning late Sunday evenings so he could have 2 full days of classes at the Lafayette Ballet Academy. After they got to know him, Radomir fit in well with the 3 of them. Hmm. Mm. 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 Freya had always... After they got to know him, Radomir fit in well with the three of them. He was even more serious about his grades than they were. He wanted to go to Columbia. His English got perceptibly better every day, and he started to make more friends. Grateful they'd given him a chance. Freya always felt a little worried about Radomir. There was a note of sadness surrounding him. That never quite faded. One day they'd been on their own at lunch. Radomir told her the story of Nijinsky. For 10 years he'd been the most famous male dancer in Europe. Then he went mad and spent the rest of his life in an asylum. 10 years of growing up, 10 years of training, 10 years of dancing, and 30 years of darkness, Radomir had said, with a haunted look. He'd skipped the 8th grade. Radomir worked very hard and managed to skip the 8th grade. By the time Freya got to Grayson, he had a whole new set of friends. They were still friendly, but not close anymore. Their paths didn't cross that often. Okay, so now we need a transition to the present. Hmm. 30 years of darkness. Mm. Okay, cool. So here we introduce some notes of finality right there. If you just saw that edit there, where I had her like glancing over as she's undoing the lock, well, like as I'm doing that, I'm like, well, if you're fucking with your lock, you're like looking down at the lock. You're not glancing over at a lane. So we just made that quick change right there. Uh, 30 years of darkness. Freya was shivering as she walked back into the school. The back of her gym shorts and her underwear were soaked through. She got her wet clothes out of her. She got her still wet. She got her still damp clothes out of her locker, remembering her idea about sealing the star ball inside it. It had been a stupid idea. Remembering her hypothesis about sealing the star ball inside. It had been a stupid idea. She changed clothes in the girls' room and walked in the pouring rain to her bicycle. Before she undid her lock, she glanced over at the cars idling in the pickup lane, even though she knew it was useless. Lassa wasn't there. Okay, so not what we want there. So yeah, like a really strong thing. So let's take a look at how long this next thing is there. I think we do a good job of introducing the Radomir character, who is frankly like not that important. We spent a bunch of time on that guy. And then yeah, so let's edit this final little piece of it here. So this is a big ass chapter. This is it's another fucking 14 pager or something, feels like. So page 150. Oh no, it's not that long. So page 150 all the way to 163. Okay, so yeah, this is like a 13 page chapter. The one's going to be like a half page there. Okay. Yeah, we're going to twist the knife a little bit here. It was a long, wet ride home. She could have left the bike at school and taken a cab, but she didn't want to. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that. Freya could have left her bike at school and taken a cab, but she didn't want to. She deserved this. Fucking love that. She hadn't brought a hat, so the whole way home she was squinting against the rain until her face hurt. She hadn't brought a hat, so the whole way home she would, yeah. Towards the end of her ride, her hands were getting numb. When she was coming down the big hill, she was afraid she'd lose her grip, but she just kept pushing forward until everything was one long, aching blur. She hoped Lassa would be home so she could try apologizing again, but her car wasn't in the garage. The house was dark and empty. Randall used to have the early shift on Tuesdays and Thursdays. When she was in middle school, she would ride her bike home and the garage door would be open. Randall would be inside, tinkering with his truck or plugging away at some ancient computer game with awful blocky graphics. Randall used to have the early shift on Tuesdays and Thursdays. When she was in middle school, she would ride her bike home and the garage door would be open. Randall would be inside, tinkering with his truck or fooling around on his laptop. She would ring the little bell on her handlebars, and his head would perk up. It never mattered what he was doing. Even if he was under the truck, he would call it... there we go. It never mattered what he was doing. Even if he was under the truck, he would call out, covered in oil and grime, with a big goofy smile. He was always so happy to see her. He'd hop on his bike with their mitts. He'd grab their baseball gloves and they'd ride to Nading Hill Park to play catch, or they'd drive to Dorsey to play mini golf, then see a movie. She hadn't realized how good she had it. Nobody lit up when they saw Freya now. Nobody was happy to see her. Certainly not Lassa. For the 100th time, she felt shitty about this morning. Freya was standing in the rain in the driveway, staring at an empty garage. She thumbed the bell of her bicycle, but it was wet and it wouldn't ring. It only made a dull tink. It just ached and ached. It never stopped. She entered 1984, the key code to the garage door, and dragged her bike inside. The tires left wet lines on the cement. For the first time, she wondered what Randall did on Tuesdays and Thursdays when she started after-school drama and had rehearsal those nights. Was he still here in the garage? With perfect clarity, she imagined him turning from his computer chair to look out at the driveway, then giving a sad little shrug and turning back to the screen. Freya started to cry, little sobs rising above the sound of rain outside as she dripped onto the garage floor. Why not? I can't get any wetter. She kept doing this to herself, digging at the wound, dragging herself deeper into it. And there was really no way out. Dragging herself deeper. There was really no way out. Things were just getting worse. She went to her room to get dry clothes, and there was half of a pill sitting on the dresser. The message was clear. Lasse wasn't coming home tonight. Freya spent a long time staring at the half pill, and finally she couldn't take it anymore. She went to Lasse's closet to look for Randall's gun. But the case was gone. Getting fucking wild with it. This is so much better. All right, so we fucking did it. I'm glad that it only took us like 2 days to get through that chapter. I didn't want it to be another like 4 or 5 day chapter. So we're up to page 164 of 774. And then next we're going to get the first chapter of The Fragile Phoenix. Oh, damn. I'm fucking excited. All right. Well, thank you to everybody who's still watching this or whatever. Again, you can, if you're interested in this, you can watch the whole story to this point. We're up to chapter 23. So you can read the whole story at zachzyz.com/gravid. If you go to zachzyz.com, you can see our very excellent, like all the other books that I have are available there for free. There's some of my other content that's on there. And yeah, like all this is available. Just get at it, dogs. All right. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. And yeah, it's a good thing. Merry Christmas to all of you. I will be streaming every single morning until this is done. There's no holiday breaks for this motherfucker right here. So good luck with your own projects. And as always, penis pump.